Taipei, Taiwan, CNN. Tensions in the Taiwan Strait have reached a fever pitch, sending shockwaves not only through the island but across the entire region. The city of Taipei, usually bustling with life, now moves with a sense of unease, as residents and officials alike brace for what may come next. Chinese warships now encircle the island, their presence unmistakable and ominous. Beijing calls this a rehearsal for reunification, but for many, it feels like a prelude to something far more dangerous, a demonstration of power that leaves little room for doubt about China's intentions. Fighter jets roar across the median line, a boundary once respected, now ignored. The thunder of engines rattles windows in coastal cities, jolting families awake and sending a clear message: the old rules no longer apply. Global markets are in freefall, reacting to the uncertainty with panic. Investors scramble as the world watches the most significant military standoff in decades unfold in real time, fearing the economic consequences of a conflict that could reshape the global order. The question is no longer if, but when. Around the world, people watch their screens, searching for answers, as the clock ticks down and the sense of inevitability grows heavier with each passing hour. Air raid sirens, once a routine part of civil defense drills, now carry a chilling weight. The wail echoes through city streets, and civilians, young and old, rush to shelters, their faces etched with fear and uncertainty. China's People's Liberation Army has mobilized on an unprecedented scale, sealing off Taiwan from the outside world. Ports are blocked, and the island's isolation grows by the hour, as military vehicles and troops move with precision and purpose. Civilian flights are canceled, airport terminals stand eerily empty, and shipping lanes are rerouted far from the danger zone. Beijing's message is clear: any interference, from any quarter, will be met with overwhelming force and swift retaliation. This crisis is not sudden, but the result of years of escalating pressure, a tightening noose around Taiwan. Each military exercise, each diplomatic warning, has brought the region closer to this breaking point. Under Xi Jinping, China's patience has worn thin. Military drills have grown more aggressive, and economic coercion more punishing. Sanctions and blockades have become tools of intimidation, as Beijing seeks to bend Taiwan and the world to its will. The United States has responded by dispatching carrier strike groups to the region, a powerful signal of its commitment to defend its allies and maintain stability. The Pentagon's statements are measured, but the show of force is unmistakable. Japan, the Philippines, and South Korea are on high alert, their militaries coordinating and preparing for any contingency. In command centers from Tokyo to Manila, leaders weigh their options, knowing that any miscalculation could have devastating consequences. The pieces are in motion on a grand, terrifying chessboard. Generals and strategists move assets and alliances, each decision carrying enormous risk as the world's great powers edge closer to confrontation. For ordinary people, the next move could determine the fate of millions. Families shelter in basements, children cling to parents, and entire cities hold their breath, hoping for peace but preparing for the worst. As night falls and city lights flicker, the world holds its breath, waiting, watching, and wondering what tomorrow will bring in this region on high alert. Why does Taiwan matter so much? Its strategic value is immense. Geographically, it sits at the heart of the first island chain, hemming in China's coastline. Controlling Taiwan gives Beijing access to the Pacific and threatens U.S. military bases in the region. Economically, Taiwan dominates the global semiconductor industry. TSMC produces the world's most advanced microchips. A Chinese takeover would give Beijing leverage over the global economy. For China, reunification is a matter of national destiny and legitimacy. For the U.S. and its allies, defending Taiwan is about upholding the rules-based order and democratic values. The battle for Taiwan is a contest of systems, values, and military power. This small island is the world's most dangerous flashpoint. The stakes could not be higher. The most likely scenario in a Taiwan crisis isn't a dramatic amphibious invasion, but rather a slow, suffocating blockade, what strategists call the anaconda squeeze. Instead of storming the beaches, China could surround Taiwan with a ring of warships, submarines, and aircraft, cutting off the island from the outside world. This blockade would be relentless, tightening day by day, aiming to strangle Taiwan's economy and force its government into submission without a single shot fired. Chinese ships and aircraft, would enforce a no-go zone, halting all commercial traffic. Cargo ships would be forced to wait offshore, unable to deliver vital goods like food, fuel, and medical supplies. Taiwan's exports, especially its crucial semiconductors, would be trapped, sending shockwaves through global supply chains and causing economic turmoil far beyond Asia. Beijing would gamble that Taiwan's leaders, isolated and under mounting pressure, would capitulate before the international community could organize a meaningful response. Chinese officials would use propaganda and diplomatic channels to justify their actions, framing the blockade as a necessary measure to restore order. Japan's vital shipping lanes would be thrown into chaos, threatening its energy and food security. While Tokyo would likely support the US diplomatically and logistically, it would be cautious, avoiding direct military confrontation with China unless Japanese territory or vessels were attacked. South Korea, always wary of North Korean aggression, would be reluctant to commit military forces. Instead, Seoul would offer diplomatic backing and humanitarian aid, but its primary focus would remain on the Korean peninsula. The Philippines, just a short distance from Taiwan, would become a crucial staging ground for US and allied operations. However, Manila would face the risk of Chinese retaliation, both militarily and economically, making its support a delicate balancing act. The United States and its allies would confront a grave dilemma: should they attempt to break the blockade, risking a direct and potentially catastrophic war with China? Or should they stand by, watching Taiwan slowly strangled, hoping for a diplomatic breakthrough that may never come? China would employ gray zone tactics, using civilian fishing fleets, Coast Guard ships, and other non-military assets to blur the line between peace and war. This would make it harder for the world to justify intervention, as every move would be shrouded in ambiguity. The psychological pressure on Taiwan and its allies would be immense. Beijing believes it can outlast its opponents in this war of nerves, betting that the world will hesitate to escalate. In the end, the world would be forced to make a fateful choice: escalate the crisis and risk a wider war, or stand by as Taiwan is slowly squeezed into submission. The stakes could not be higher. Another scenario: surgical strikes. China launches cyber attacks, then missiles, aiming to cripple Taiwan's leadership and military. The goal forced Taiwan to negotiate on Beijing's terms, not occupy the island. Japan and the Philippines would be at risk from stray missiles and escalation. Japan's advanced destroyers would track and possibly intercept missiles. US bases in Okinawa would be on the front line. An attack on US or Japanese assets could trigger a wider war. The Philippines' bases would be vital for US operations, but would make Manila a target. South Korea, preoccupied with the North, would provide support but avoid direct combat. The burden of direct response would fall on the US and a reluctant Japan. The region would be on the brink. The nightmare: a full-scale amphibious invasion, the largest in history. China bombards Taiwan, then sends a massive armada across the strait. Hundreds of thousands of troops storm fortified beaches, aiming for total conquest. Japan would see this as an existential threat, joining the US in military operations. The Philippines would become a frontline state, its bases crucial for Allied strikes, making it a direct target. South Korea would be forced to respond, securing sea lanes and supporting logistics, while watching the North. The conflict could spiral into a global war. Each nation's choices would shape the outcome. The stakes: the future of the Indo-Pacific. Can Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines stop China? Each nation brings unique strengths to the table, but also faces significant limitations that shape their roles in the region. Japan's navy is world-class, renowned for its advanced technology, discipline, and expertise in anti-submarine warfare and air defense. Its fleet is among the most modern in Asia, capable of tracking and countering sophisticated threats. However, Japan's military is constitutionally defensive, restricted by post-war laws that limit its ability to project power far from home. It lacks long-range strike capabilities, making it reliant on allies for offensive operations. South Korea's military is powerful, well-trained, and equipped with cutting-edge technology, including advanced tanks, aircraft, and missile systems. Yet, its primary focus remains the threat from North Korea. This means its forces are largely positioned for homeland defense, with limited ability to operate far beyond the peninsula. The Philippines' geography, is its greatest asset, sitting astride vital sea lanes and controlling access to the South China Sea, a strategic choke point in any regional conflict. But the Philippine military is underpowered, lacking modern equipment and resources. It relies heavily on U.S. support for training, intelligence, and advanced weaponry, making it vulnerable on its own. In this regional defense puzzle, Japan serves as the northern anchor, guarding the approaches to the East China Sea and beyond. The Philippines acts as the southern gatekeeper, controlling the maritime crossroads at the heart of Southeast Asia. South Korea, meanwhile, is the strategic reserve, able to reinforce allies or respond rapidly to crises on the peninsula. None of these countries can stop China alone. Their military power is specialized, and their reach is limited by geography and doctrine. Their combined strength is impressive, but only within certain zones. Beyond those, their influence fades, and gaps appear. Their true effectiveness depends on seamless integration into a US-led coalition, where American power fills the gaps and unites their efforts. Together, they form a defensive web, strong but not impenetrable. Their roles are vital, but the defense is incomplete without unity. Only through unity, coordination, and shared strategy can these nations hope to deter aggression and maintain stability in the region. The puzzle of East Asian security is bigger than any single piece. Each nation is essential, but only together do they form a coherent picture. The real question is, can they overcome their differences and work as one unified force when it matters most? The key to stopping China is the United States. Without swift, massive US intervention, Taiwan's fall is only a matter of time. Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines can complicate Beijing's plans, but can't win alone. The US military is the only force capable of halting an invasion. US bases in Japan and the Philippines are the backbone of Allied defense. Interoperability, seamless cooperation, is the true strength of the alliance. But US support isn't guaranteed. Strategic ambiguity remains policy. China bets on conquering Taiwan before the US can respond. The credibility of deterrence depends on American resolve and speed. China tries to sow doubt, exploiting alliance vulnerabilities. The alliance's strength lies in unity and political will. The American wildcard is powerful, but only as strong as its allies. The world watches for any sign of hesitation. Stopping China is a monumental challenge. Geography favors Beijing. Taiwan is just 100 miles away. China can deploy overwhelming force from its own shores. The US and allies must project power across vast distances, vulnerable at every step. China's military is massive, backed by the world's second-largest economy. Its shipyards and factories can outproduce the West in a long war. China's A2AD strategy, missiles and defenses, creates a deadly bubble around Taiwan. Breaching it would be costly, with no guarantee of success. The alliance is not a unified command. Interests diverge. Coordination is hard. China's unified command and clear objective are major advantages. In war, simplicity and unity matter. Can Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines stop China? Alone? No. Without immediate US force, they cannot overcome China's proximity and power. Their role is to enable an American-led intervention. The real question: can they, with the US, deter China from invading? Deterrence works by making war too costly for Beijing. Their bases, intelligence, and defenses build a wall of risk. Together they turn a quick victory into a long, bloody marathon. The goal: make war so ruinous that peace remains the only option. The security of Taiwan and the region rests on this fragile balance. The dragon is always watching, waiting for weakness.